Welcome. Thanks for coming. Good to see you. You can hear me okay, I think. Yeah, great. Okay, we'll start the class. Thanks for coming. Beautiful day here in the United Kingdom. Let's start by standing with our feet apart and arms by our sides. Breathing through the nose, feet parallel to each other. Sometimes a bit of movement can be very, very useful, very enjoyable even, we hope. So as we're breathing, there may be this movement forwards, backwards, or spreading, any movement that helps to hydrate in a sort of feeling sense. We feel hydrated, we feel flow in the breath, the brain, and the body. So just a little looseness. Shoulders can drop. Breathing can be deeper, more natural. Stretch the arms out in front of you and simply lower yourself down to whatever squatting position is comfortable, however low that is for you. And still breathing freely through the nose. And then palms in towards each other and then coming up. Big circle, hands to the heart. Just take a deep breath in, followed by out. So hopefully just even that's got the heart moving. Let's raise the arms again. When we're ready, roots of the neck soft, eyes soft, press the feet, raise the fingers, inhale. Exhale, bend ankles, knees and hips. And we're in another version of squatting, Utkatta, which again, this time with the palms facing in, one can come as low as one wants, or, it feels useful, or as high as one wants, and then working our way back up. Good job. Big circle, hands to heart. 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths, feet together or towards each other. Tadasana with the feet together. So it's called Tadasana Namaskara. And we breathe into it. There could be movement, forwards, backwards, left or right. Tuning out, tuning in. Jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. Go ahead and raise up your left heel and reach down for Vrikshasana. So reaching down for the ankle and positioning the foot. Breathing through the nose. It's a moment-to-moment study. And it's expressive. The poses used to be called things like mudras and karanas, seals and expressions. So this is both a mudra and a karana. That is to say, it's a container, a mudra. And also it's an expression of emptiness dancing, or dancing with this, with a capital T on the this, dancing with this. Release your hands, place your foot, catch a breath, let it be a deep one. Shimmy out if you want. Shoulders down, eyes soft, brain soft. Similarly, raising up the other heel. And when ready, the foot coming up to wherever. It can cup the knee, it can rest on the floor with the foot, the heel on the inner ankle, or it can come up to the top of the thigh. And hands into prayer for this Vrikshasana. And of course, some wobbly fun happens naturally in a pose like this. So breath comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. And that's what we call wobbly fun. So breath is everything. It's one way we talk about our yogic experience. Great. Release the hands. Place the feet. Have a little moment, a little shimmy. Might change this backdrop because I'm probably very silhouetted. We're going to take a block. We're going to come into Ardha Chandrasana. So a block is useful for this. And it's an exciting pose, I'm sure you agree. So it's a generous stride. Brick block. There are blocks and there are bricks, and this is a brick. Or you could call it a brick block. Step over to one side of your mat, doesn't matter which side, and then stepping your feet to a generous stride, more than half the mat width, turn your front foot and leg out. And then we're going to raise the brick block up. Ready, in the lead arm. Inhale, exhale, come down to your Trikonasana without holding the breath, with soft eyes, expressive, investigative, natural, breath-centered, investigative, natural, breath-centered. And there's so many things that might be happening that, we can enjoy. For example, balancing the back foot between inner and outer, that can be enjoyable. Arm down, bend your front knee, walk your back foot in, and move your brick block so it's aligned with the 4 outer toes and about a brick block length away. You've got 1, 2, 3 height options, a directional option, and the option not to use a block, so 5 options in total. Come up when you're ready. So you can choose which height and which direction the block goes. And then we're raising up our top leg. So Ardha Chandra, the half moon. Breath comes and goes, eyes stay soft, brain is soft. Obviously, there's a degree of enjoyment, I hope, as the investigation pans out. And then bend your knee. Come back through, take the block with you, through to your Trikonasana. Breathe through your nose. Bottom shoulder blade pulls down, top arm opens up. Everything is breath, everything is breath. Inhale, come on up. Really good. And then migrate to the other side of your mat. This habit or good practice of moving to one side of the mat or the other means that wherever you practice, you should have enough space to come out into the pose without bashing your head into a wall or something. Heel to arch alignment. It also works well for classroom management when we're in a classroom situation. Raise the brick block when you're ready. Inhale, exhale. Down you come to this Utthita Trikonasana. Breath coming and going, balancing and rebalancing. Absorption and meditation in the present, absorption and meditation. And the breath is the centerpiece. So deep, honest, expressive breaths. Arm down, bend your knee. Walk your back foot in towards your front foot. Transfer the block so it's about a block length or more ahead. 1, 2, 3 height options, a directional option as well. Come up when you've chosen, when you're ready. We'd like to try to avoid letting the toes of the standing leg turn in. We'd like to try to avoid that ideally rather. Top arm can be on the top leg or raised up. I quite like it on the top leg. And it's a moment to moment to moment to moment to moment investigation based around the breath. Moment to moment to moment to moment investigation based around the breath. Great. Okay, bend your knee. Stretch back through to your Trikonasana. It's a really powerful pose. It's one of my favorite poses, actually, really, because there's so much, it really works to flush out our current addiction. Inhale. So we're often addicted to something in the past or the future. Inhale to come up, that is. Walk your feet towards each other and have a little moment of shake out or any other movement that you find useful. Now, you might need a belt because we're going to take one hand behind the back and take hold of it with the other. So belts are often very, very useful, of course, for this. Wonderful stretch for the descending fibers of the trapezius on the lower arm. Feet are apart, about hip width, but it doesn't have to be exact. And breathing is natural, and the yoginī, which is you, you investigate, she investigates, she gives herself, she surrenders, and she breathes. She investigates, she gives herself, she surrenders, she breathes. So deep, natural, honest, investigative, breath-centered. Expressive breaths, natural breaths, honest breaths. And maybe there's movement. I often find there's movement, but I'm not looking for it. I'm not sort of institutionalizing it. I just often find that it's there. So deep, natural, honest, expressive breaths. Slow and easy release that side. If you're ready, you might want to stay longer. And then the other arm comes up the back. And similarly, we take hold. One elbow up, one elbow down. Breathing through the nose. Natural. Investigative. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Finding the pelvic floor is an investigation. Head in line with the spine, energetically speaking, is an investigation. Good job. Okay, nice and easy release. Nice and easy release. Stretch your arms out, maybe wiggle your fingers or jazz hands it up, or open and close the palms, just to kind of limber up the nerves. And when ready, one arm over the top of the other, and maybe repeat 2, 3, 4 times before finally wrapping around as far as you can comfortably and breathing through the nose. The feet are close towards each other. The breathing is natural. We can bend ankles, knees, and hips. And then there's the option to just bend with both knees bending like this, down to wherever you come. Could stretch for the back, could stretch for the shoulders, or to take the opposite leg to the top arm and wrap that around. And that can be best done, the higher up you wrap around, the more we're able to get a further wrap. And that can mean that sometimes the toes might come around the back of the calf and hook in. Breathing easy. Jaw soft. Shoulder blades deep to the back ribs. So it's Garudasana. Good job. Release from whatever leg position and release the arm position too. Take a breath, keep loose, keep breath centered. If you're ready, stretch your arms out and, anything that feels fluid, flow-based, surrendered is what we're looking for. And then same thing the other side, repeatedly wrapping and re-wrapping as many times as feels right before, whenever it comes to the time for the final wrap round, wrapping and re-wrapping and adjusting and readjusting, then it's either knees bent and leaning forwards, or bending the knees and taking the opposite leg to the top arm and wrapping it round to wherever it comes. This is a sort of 3-channel working practice. So the Ida, the Pingala, the Sushumna, the left channel, the right channel, and the central channel. And we just breathe into it. Just breathe into it. Really quite a wonderful pose. Okay, release when you're ready. Well done, and arms as well. Take a moment, limber up. And then we're going to bring our hands behind us and either bring the hands into this Paschima Namaskara or holding the elbows. And as you can see, when I'm coming into Paschima Namaskara, I'm taking quite a long time to adjust fiber by fiber by fiber, using the spinous processes. That is where the spine sticks out, using the spinous processes to work my hands. And then we step the feet apart generously. Breathing through the nose, eyes soft, brain soft, melting through breath, held tensions in areas like across the collarbones, through to the arms, chest muscles. Just melting any resistance into peace. When you're ready, back toes turn in, front foot and leg turns out, whole body lines up. Doesn't matter which way you're turning, we're going to turn both ways. And then walk the front foot further across the width of the mat before lifting the back heel, externally rotating it and bringing it down again. Light tone in the tummy, breathing through the nose. Lift up from the inner groin of the back leg on an inhalation. So lift the chest too. Exhale, stretch forwards from the inner groin, hinging from the hip joints, breathing through your nose. Listening, responding is one thing. Everything that can be soft is soft. Listening, responding. Pajvottanasana is the name of this pose. Pajva, which means the side, ut and tan together, I mean intense stretch. So sides body, the sides of the body are where we stretch. This is a meditative sense of the side ribs lengthening. Leading with the bottom of the breastbone, coming up on the inhalation, turning back to the front, leveling the feet, but not releasing the arms, even if you really want to, and then turning the back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body turns, walk that front foot further across the width of the mat, lift that back heel up and turn it out before bringing it down again, and stretch from the inner groin up to the chest on an inhalation, and exhaling, stretch from the inner groin of the back leg forwards. The jaw passive, hinging from the hip joints and breathing through the nose, preferably. Coming up, hinging similarly, turning back to the front. Now you can walk the feet slowly back. And I personally quite like to stay longer. I like to stay until the pose is integrated. But just in case we don't or want to, then we'll slowly release the arms and let a little bit of movement happen, any shimmying, any movement in general that makes you feel softer. Now we're coming down from there to the floor, to Sukhasana, cross-leg position, for which you might find it useful to adjust and readjust, just as I'm doing here. Drawing the buttock flesh out and back, breathing through your nose if you can. Eyes soft, jaw soft, brain soft, throat soft. So Sukhasana ideally has a gap between the legs and the pelvis. Now you can sit on a block, you probably know, but if you are sitting on a block, of course, it becomes important that if you're on two blocks, that you then make sure that you have a blanket for underneath your shins. Otherwise, the legs go down too far, too fast, and that pulls the pelvis too rapidly forwards, making us pull back in the lower back, not so good. So breathing through your nose if you can. So it's very simple, but not to be underestimated. The simple poses are the ones that really can reveal a lot of depth. I mean, they all can, but once we realize that a simple pose has layers, then it becomes even more obvious that a complicated pose has. So here, around the hips, around the IT band, on the outer legs, We may feel subtle tensions. They can be subtly released through movement left, right, forwards, backwards, and so on. Breath is everything. Inhale, lift from the inner groins up. Exhale, right hand on the floor behind you, and turn into the Parivrita version, which again has layers. Parivrita meaning completely revolved, from the root vrit, which means to turn or to whirl about, vrit, from which we get words like vritti in the Yoga Sutra, yogaschita vritti nirodha, description of what the yoga project is. The effective cessation of the vrittis. Effective cessation means well, what it sounds like. It's not necessarily that they've actually stopped, but their impact on us are as if they've ceased, because of our kaivalyam, our disentanglement from association with the interdependent as if it could be independently mine. Lift and turn and lift and turn and lift and turn. Breathe through your nose. And side two of the same pose, Parivrita, Sukhasana. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft in the mouth. How about that? Tongue soft in the mouth. You really concentrate on what we really want is integration. After all, the subject is yoga. So we concentrate on where there's union and where there's disunion. Yoga and ayoga. When there's union and when there's disunion. And the areas that are not unified yet, those are the areas we want to concentrate on. And slow and natural and easy. Those disintegrated areas become integrated. Okay, super duper. Return to center. Stretch your legs out in front of you. I'm going to turn to the side because otherwise you don't get a good camera angle. But hopefully remember which leg you had crossed in front of which. You would have gone to your most comfortable cross, so that will be easy to remember. Draw the buttock flesh out and back so you come to the inner front edge of the sitting bones. Bring the hands by the hips and sit up tall. Now, if it's not possible to feel any lightness in the lower back, simple solution, sit on a block or two. If you've got a good amount of blocks, like 4, for example, you could put 2 layers of 2 blocks, short end to short end, and then another top on top of that, short end to short end, which will give you a platform for your hands as well as your bum. So you could have 1 layer short end to short end, that's 2 blocks, or 2 layers short end to short end, that's 4 blocks. Sometimes it's useful if you're sitting on 4 blocks to have a neatly pleated blanket at the back of the knees, roughly the size of the back of the knees. The toes are spread, the eyes are soft, the shoulders are releasing, and the yoginī tunes in to the richness of the dance. And in so doing, she lets go of doubt. Spread your toes, widen the toes, sit up tall, and stay relaxed. Spread your toes, widen your toes, sit up tall and stay relaxed. Ranging around, looking for opportune moments where the spine can be lightened, elevated, lifted gently. Keeping the feet close, keeping the legs together, or the feet together, depending on the shape of your legs. Some people's feet come together and their thighs don't. And some people's thighs come together and their feet don't. Right? So it doesn't matter. Obviously, if your thighs come together before your feet, that's the way it is. If your feet come together before your thighs, that's the way it is. Okay, well done. Release your hands. If you're on a block, come off a block. And we're going to cross our legs as promised the other way. The other leg in front will be your least natural cross at one end of the mat. And then we're going to simply lay down. So you'll come down to the elbows. That will give us a chance to scoot the buttocks under once we're on the elbow position. Scooting under means towards the feet. And then laying on our backs. In this rather nice Supta Sukhasana. Hands can be on the upper chest or out to the sides with the elbows higher than the shoulders, or over the head, having repeatedly moved and adjusted and lifted and adjusted the shoulder blades sort of multiple times. Eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Neck soft. It's a natural breath. Super soft neck. Super soft eyes. And we're just agreeing to the pose through the breath. Just agreeing. Well done. Bring the legs back together so the feet come onto the floor. Now pop your hands underneath your head, fingers interlaced. Take a deliberately deep breath with a sigh-like exhale and let that be followed by another and another. So a spontaneous set of natural, deep, expressive breaths. A spontaneous set of natural, deep, expressive breaths. And flex your hips when you're ready so the lower back's close to the floor. Lift your head up when you're ready, keeping the lower back close to the floor. Breathe through your nose if you can. Open the angle at the back of the knees and allow whatever movements. Sometimes people find swinging the legs over very beneficial. Sometimes people find bending and extending one or both legs, or shaking, or moving the feet in whatever way helps integration. Once we've integrated with the upraised leg position, still with the head up, and I hope your neck feels peaceful, you can bring your head down if you need to. Then bring one leg about halfway down or more, whatever feels meditative and investigative and breath-centered and interesting. That's all, nothing to do with, there's no other target other than interested, breath-centered, absorbed. Then raise that leg back up and bring the other one down. Similarly, moving the leg, left, right, forwards, backwards, raising up both, and head down. Take a deep breath or two or three, and then slowly lower the legs about a third of the way down, and then raise them back up. Then one leg a bit further than a third, go past the third threshold and bring that back up. And the other, similarly, keeping the lower back close to the floor. And one more time of that on each leg. Keeping the lower back intimate with the floor is much more than exercise. It's dance. It's super sensual dance.
Bend your knees, place the feet, take a deep breath in, followed by a deep breath out. And let a few deep breaths come and go, a few of them. So jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Release your hands from behind your head. Stretch your arms forwards. Now here, I'm going to suggest actually, before you do that, roll over to your side, because I'm going to suggest that we use a belt and around the ankle. So I think you've probably got a belt. Or sometimes there's a belt up here and sometimes there isn't, but there's nearly always this weird infinity strap, I think it's called. Yes, it's called the infinity strap. What's it say there? Stretch, right, okay. So that goes around the front ankles, the belt, and you hold it. It can be a dressing gown belt or an infinity strap. And then with light tone in the tummy in and up, we lift up and turn the arms out. So effectively twisting the belt and opening the chin towards the chest and stretching the tummy if you can. So light tone in the tummy. And that lengthening and re-lengthening of the deep belly. Lengthening and re-lengthening of the deep belly. So obviously it's a version of Setu Bandhasana. The shins very gently hit back, which means at the top of the shin bone, at the tibial tuberosity, there's just a gentle pressure, gentle push, as it were, gentle support backwards. And that's accompanied by a gentle lift upwards of the gluteal region. So it's like someone were pressing their feet against your shins and just helping with stability. Let your arms internally rotate as you descend. Let go of the strap and take a breath or two or three or four, just laying on your back. If your knees are tight, walk your feet further away from your head. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft, tongue soft. Letting the breath come and go and come and go and come and go. Lift up your feet when you're ready and stretch your arms out to the sides. Now here, we're going to make sure that we've got a bend at the elbow of about 90 degrees and that the elbows are a little higher up than the shoulders. And this is a very lovely position in and of itself, I think, where we're laying on our backs. We can feel the medial scapula, which is just a sort of rather over technical way of saying inner edge of the shoulder blades, inner being closer to the spine. And then we're going to lift up the feet, breathing through the nose, eyes soft, brain soft, jaw soft, tongue soft. Flex the hips when you're ready until the pelvis lifts. Then shift the pelvis to one direction and bring the legs down in the other direction, keeping your tummy drawn in, keeping the chest lifted, breathing the back arm back down. The more you suck in the tummy, the better, especially or particularly if it's connected to a pulling up of the chest towards the head, sucking in, pulling up. And this is Jatara Paravatanasana, or simply sometimes called Jatara Paravatasana. Coming back up when ready. Feet on the floor, scoot the buttocks, scoot the shoulder blades too. Scooting is my term for towards the bum. And breathe for a few breaths. Just let the breath flow. Allow the breath to flow, which I think can be really just very special. Just these moments. Very special. Flex up when you're ready again. Obviously, we're going to do the same thing the other side. So fully flex. Shift your bum the opposite way to the way your legs are going to go. And then legs down, tummy draws in, chest lifts up. And getting through length of the body. The back arm, if lifted, will gradually come down. But listen to the words, through length. Length of the tummy, length of the lower back, which is facilitated through drawing the tummy in and lifting the ribs up. I quite like to hover the legs, but you can land them. What we don't want to do is half and half. We don't want to land the feet and hover the knees, or hover the knees and land the feet. We want to make sure they're doing the same thing as each other. Okay, great. Return to center, land your feet, scoot the buttocks, scoot the shoulder blades, take a deep breath in, followed by a deep breath out. And then another will follow that. And another will follow that. And this is just breathing, isn't it? It's how we breathe. So a few deep breaths, just in this very simple way. Now, with good fortune on your side, your belt from before will be accessible near enough for you to get hold of. So get hold of your belt now. And simply raise up one leg, doesn't matter which one. We're going to bring the belt around the front of the heel, which is a precision placement, right? A precise precision placement, a PPP, which is also a Sanskrit grammar rule. The PPP, the past passive participle, precise, particular placement. Breathe through your nose, neck soft. Let there be some very natural, responsive movements centered around the breath and play. Leg can move medial, leg can move lateral. Breath is really relaxed and natural. Meditation and breath. Okay, that's enough. I reckon that's good. Let's do the other leg similarly. This precise placement, particular placement, precise particular placement, the PPP around the front of the heel. And it's precise and it's particular because we're placing it in the exact place that feels most focusing. Then movements of whatever kind, medial, lateral, proximal, distal, all conducing to a breath release sensation. Breath release sensations. Letting it flow. Letting it flow. So if the breath's flowing, everything's flowing. We know that. Okay, release and place your foot down. Just have a moment of a deep breath, or two or three or four. Nice just to enjoy those moments. Passive, natural, organic. And then roll over when you're ready. We're going to come into Paschimottanasana. So this will possibly involve sitting on blocks. The buttock flesh is drawn out and back. And just like with Dandasana that we did earlier, we can ascertain whether or not we need to use blocks quite simply by drawing the buttock flesh out and back and seeing, does the lower back draw in a little? Can it draw in a little? Can it lift up lightly? If yes, great, no block. If not sure, then use a block. And if no, I can't feel it, then also use a block. So we sit up tall and breathe through the nose. Now we use our strap. Now my strap here, this infinity strap, is teeny, as you can see. But that's okay for me because you place the strap at a point that your pelvis can tilt to. So my pelvis can tilt this far because the hamstrings will allow me.
to tilt this far. Tilting the pelvis means that the spine remains open, that we're not closing down anteriorly. And then within this sense of openness, we investigate openness in the anterior spine by pulling and lifting and shifting. Pulling, lifting, shifting. Pulling on the belt, lifting the chest, shifting the pelvis, investigatively. And in this way, we lose time, we become unaffected by time, kalananavachidat, which is one of the qualities we're told of the Ishvara. The Ishvara means the best master. In other words, somebody who's the best, but also mastered themselves, and that's the Ishvara. So that can be us if we're outside of time. Klesha karma vipakashayera paramishtaha purusha vishesha Ishvaraha. Somebody who is klesha karma vipaka ashayer, that is free of afflictions, karma, klesha karma, the fruits of actions and stored up stuff, vipaka, ashaya, paramrishtaha, unaffected by. And so we lose time, and when we enter the timelessness, then it's all that we have is not a destination, but an exploration. And that really is when we start to understand what yoga is, when it stops being a destination and starts being an exploration. That's when we know yoga's this, because then we know how enjoyable it is, how satisfying, how conducive to santosha, which we find, of course, talked about in the second pada of Patanjali, describes the niyamas, something like 241 or 242, maybe it's 243 actually, in the Yoga Sutra. Some people end up holding the foot rather than the belt. That doesn't matter. But we don't want to think that's a target of any kind. It's not of any kind of target. It just happens as if it's easier to hold the feet because you've got short legs and long arms, then that's fine. But what we're trying to focus on is space. Few more breaths. You might spend time leaning to the left or leaning to the right and just lose yourself. That's the point of this, is to lose yourself. Right. Okay, good job. Leading with the bottom of the breastbone to come up, taking your breath or two. Well done. It's a beautiful pose. Now Janu Shirshasana. So very similar, except somehow easier and more difficult at the same time, because we let one leg fall out to the side. I should say that if you're on a block, turn it now so it's skewiff, and it's that side, the side that's pulled further back, that we take hold of that leg that corresponds to that side, and bring the foot back to either the top of the opposite thigh. Most commonly it will be that, and sometimes to the top of its own thigh. And you can see that I'm adjusting and readjusting on my fingertips, aligning and realigning the various fibers. Breathing through your nose with soft eyes and a soft brain. Looking for height, looking for lift. Jaw, soft eyes, soft brain, soft. And here again, we can use the belt. And, as I say, my belt limits me because it's so short, but it's okay for me. But we quite probably will be better off with a longer length of belt, at least at first. If the pelvis tilts forwards, Softening the inside of the knee, we go with it. But the provisos are if the pelvis tilts forwards. And that will happen when the hamstrings release, and that will happen because of time and breath and investigative movements. Again, some people end up holding the foot. It's has no bearing on your levels of success. Only absorption has bearings on one's levels of success in yoga. If the imprint of the posture into the muscles and through the muscles to the nerves is causing the nerves to release their habits that emanate from the nervous system back into the muscles, then that's a correct pose. That's a useful pose. A parigraha, empty of grasping. A few more deep breaths. Lead with the bottom of the breastbone. Bring yourself up slow and easy. Extend out your legs. Give yourself a little energy bath. It could be vigorous or slower. That's in fact just basically a rub down. Try to make it universal. So everything, the chest, the back, the face, the ears. Really a good universal rub down. Great. You can feel the energies everywhere. If you're ready, might still be enjoying the energy bath, but if you're ready, the other leg bends. And similarly, we can place the foot in various positions. It could be on the knee of the opposite leg, but you would want to support the leg possibly in that scenario. And then you could hold the belt. Or further up, top of the thigh of the opposite leg, or top of the thigh on its own leg. Take a breath or two, adjust and readjust, listen and respond. If ready, when it feels ready, then the belt goes around the ball of the foot, quite probably giving ourselves lots of slack so we can create a real sense of connection to space. And then breathing through the nose, eyes, jaw, tongue, throat, soft. And melting, meditative melting. So the movement is an aspect of the release, and the release is an aspect of the movement. As we move in, we let go. As we let go, we move in. So moving in and letting go. Keeping the jaw really passive, really soft. Keeping the eyes really passive, really soft. Couple more breaths, deep breaths. Janu Shirshasana. Well done. Calmly ascending from wherever we descended to. What an amazing posture Janu Shirshasana is. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's the downward facing dog, which I know you know. So all of the normal checks and balances, checking first that if you've got a baggy t-shirt, that you tuck it in so it doesn't come over your head, that your fingers are equidistant from the front and the sides of the mat, that your middle fingers face forwards. And then when we pop up, we can check the feet for their equidistance as well. Equidistance from the back and the sides of the mat. And then it's an investigative padding of your palms into the mat combined with investigative stretching, opening, reaching, finding space and refinding space. Abhyasa again and again. And looking for length, length, length right the way through the armpits. The inner, the outer, the under. The inner, the outer, the under, all the way through from the armpits to the groins. That is the top of the front thighs. The heels can experiment with going back to see how there's a connection that we can deepen and follow through between the heel going back and the groin on that leg lifting up. And so I often do this 1 foot at a time. Stretch one heel, then let it go. Let it lift again, stretch the other heel. And I might do that many, many, many times, looking for integrity. Armpits to groins, armpits to hips. Well done. Come down. Take a regular upright seated position and breathe through your nose with one hand on top of the other. Bhairava Mudra if the right hand is on top of the left, Bhairavi if the left hand is on top of the right. And just breath. Just breath. Of course, we can put a rolled up blanket underneath our front shins and a block between the heels and buttocks if there's tightness in those areas. Keep the breath flowing, keep the eyes soft. Suchirandrasana. So come onto your hands and knees. Take the arm that's furthest away from me, feed it underneath towards me, or it doesn't matter if it's towards or away from me because you might be set up differently. But just underneath the body, palm up. The other arm stretches forwards and we breathe through the nose. This option is a good one, a really good one for Suchirandrasana. Just move the microphone. It's a really good option. There's another, which is almost a different pose, really, where you bring your hand back and you turn and raise up a leg, right? And so that adds elements of stretch to the groins, elements of balance, of course. And some of the same benefits apply, especially for the deltoid of the lower arm. In this version, there's even an option to bend the top leg. It's very tricky, quite exciting. And then you reach through and you'd hold the ankle. But a lot of people understandably don't take that option because it's highly meditative in the sense that, you've got to be with each oscillation of the moment. Either way, you come down, come back to hands and knees, do a little collapse like me if you want, and then back and take a breath or two and wag your tail. Now I'm going to turn around, but you don't need to. And that way I can still see your lovely faces as we do the second side. So other arm comes underneath. So the options are the same. The other arm to the one you brought underneath can extend out. And this is a great pose, just as it is. You don't need anything adding to that, I don't think. And just breathe into the stretch of the deltoid, which is terrific. Terrific release. There is the option to retract that extended arm, push it into the floor and raise up. But sometimes, it can be fun. I do find it quite, it's very engaging. But, obviously it may be not so comfortable on your knee or something, so that's fine. You can bend the knee in the air. This adds another element, as we noticed before.
of excitement and engagement and subtlety, actually. So these are all options or optional stations. You don't have to take any of them. They're optional stations. Wunderbar. Coming down, back out, onto hands and knees. Catch 2 or 3 or 4 deep breaths. Just wag the tail. Just wag the tail. Time's going much too quickly for my liking, and we're already getting close to the end. And it's heartbreaking news because I'm enjoying your company, but it is what it is. Signed up for an hour class. I mustn't overrun. So we're going to come into Siddhasana and do a little energizing work for the heart chakra, which we're going to be breathing into and then rebreathing. So breathing and rebreathing means you take a bit of the in-breath, you don't breathe out, you take a bit more of that same in-breath, you don't breathe out a bit more, however many times it feels right to sort of inflate the energy in the heart center. So once you take those breaths, in-breaths on top of each other until your heart feels open and energized, you then hold your breath and take the following action. So I'll just go through the whole thing, but I'll shorten it. And that's it. And you're just massaging the heart. The thing that people go wrong with, I think, with this circling is that they let the hand move around. Hand stays stationary, fingers face in. Okay. So let's do it. Let's breathe and rebreathe into the heart center. Hold the breath, stretch your right arm out and circle it 3 times. You're still holding the breath. Then your left, circle it 3 times. Then go to your right shoulder, circle it, but massage the heart. That's why you're doing it. And then the other shoulder, massaging the heart. And then breathe out once you've finished. Hopefully you got a sense of the heart being really radiant. Really radiant. Hands to the heart. Just focusing on the heart center. Imagining radiance coming from a point right at the middle of the heart, radiating out light in all directions, up, down, left, right, behind, in front. And that light is blessing energy that we're sharing, the blessing energy that we have from our own practice to all beings, situated throughout space, so long as all have not attained to peace. Release your hands if you're ready. And it's Shavasana. So we're going to lay ourselves down for that beautiful surrender. And we're going to, we know that Shavasana starts off as a Sanketa. And before it's in the Hatha Pradipika, we find it in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. Sanketa means a sign, literally, but it's an esoteric practice. And 2 esoteric practices we're going to do together. One is laying on your back like an upturned corpse. We'll add the instructions that the hands should be quite a good distance from the body and the legs shouldn't be too wide. And if the head is tipping back, we should provide some support. So that's the first Sanketa, laying on the back like an upturned corpse. Loose limbs, soft jaw. And the second one we do at the same time is concentrating on the sensations at the back of the head, the skull, where it rests on the floor, the back of the brain, just the back of the skull and the head.
And these two Sanketas, like the other Sanketas that are supposedly taught by Lord Shiva, are there for the purpose of dissolving, dissolution, melting. Now, it's wonderful to lay until complete dissolution, to lay in that dissolution as the field, as the mother, as the matrika, as the mother, interdependent, interconnected field. And eventually at the end, one will stay with that field at the background without losing attention of that field, bring one's attention also to the foreground, as it were, to this body, this sensation. And at that time, which could be this time, but might be in a few minutes, one will wiggle the toes and fingers, stretch out the arms and legs, just stretch in any way that's natural to ourselves. Before rolling over to the left side with the knees drawn up and hopefully kind of cozy. I hope you feel cozy. Then rolling in your own time still to the other side, similarly cozy. When you feel ready, coming around in your own way, maybe rubbing your eyes or running a hand through your hair or shoulders or face, we'll come up gently from the side. May any benefit gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks, beautiful ones. So nice to see you. Thanks for being there so many times. Love you very much. And I hope you have the best evening because you deserve it. And have some treats or something, a bit of chocolate or something like that. See you very soon. Love you. Bye for now. Bye. Love you all. Bye.